I got to tell you, folks, I'm feeling very strong in the Pratt Pack Jim Coons Market. I love them. And don't forget what Joe Dentisi was talking about on Sunday. Utz Snacks from Pennsylvania, the brand new premium cheddar popcorn. Before we talk Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're going to have to do something to put a smile on our face because that was a very tough loss last night. Ty Ballou and I, he joins me now on the Comcast Sports Line. We're going to talk about a brand that he's very connected to, and I'm a huge fan of. Nice to be a kid again, pedaling your bicycle, looking for a game of baseball, some sandlot somewhere. But here it is, Big League Chew, 1980, the first year of sales. Are you ready? 18 million, developed in a 15-year-old's kitchen. And back in 2004, 721 people came together at the Cal Ripken Babe Ruth Little League World Series and blew some very coordinated bubbles to win the world record for most blowing bubble gum simultaneously. The previous record, 544. Also inspired by a game he loved and players around him. Portland Mavericks ball player Rob Nelson, 1977. So Ty Ballou, let's talk about Big League Chew and that connection with PLB Sports. This is phenomenal stuff. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Rob. You know, the product was, as you said, it was launched back in around 1980. There was a company out of Chicago by the name of Amurol that actually put that on the market, and then it was later sold to a company in upstate New York by the name of Ford Gum. Those are that's like ball gum that you see, where we used to see like in the malls and in all the different areas too. It's a great brand. They usually always have an animated character on it. I was fortunate enough to work with them probably 5 years ago. I came to them with an idea of actually putting a real baseball player on there. We launched that brand in St. Louis with Lou Brock, Hall of Famer Lou Brock. And then in Philadelphia, when Cole Hamels, who is now a Texas Ranger, was a Philadelphia Philly, in Philadelphia, and it sold very well. Iconic brand. There's really nothing like Big League Chew. Soft chew pouch. Excellent. Great idea. Whoever came up with that idea back in the late 70s and early 80s, and going strong today.
What do you think it is with baseball cards and bubble gum and Big League Chew? Why do you think it's withstood the test of time? I mean, it connects generation to generation, and I can still remember getting that pack of Topps baseball cards and looking for my favorite Pirates and that gum that had the unique taste that I still love to this day. There's something connected as far as all of us to some of those brands that we've been talking about.
You know, Rob, growing up, and you and I grew up in the same era in the 60s and the 70s. Those were our heroes. You know, we got to see them on TV occasionally. There was no computers. There's none of this social media that was out there. And these were all people that we emulated. And getting that pack of cards was just a unique, wonderful experience. Very simple, but Topps did a great job in Fleer. And then back in the late 90s, a company by the name of Upper Deck took it to a different level and more beautiful cards and more expensive. But I don't know, Rob, there was just something magical about opening that pack and, as you said, finding that Pirates player. For me, growing up in Chicago, it was that White Sox or Cubs player. And hopefully you still have some of those cards today. I know I have a box somewhere in my home here in Ben Avon.
Everybody had that neighborhood store that sold penny candy growing up as a kid, and you'd get on your bike and you'd hoof it on over, and you know, with that dollar bill that seemed like $100 at the time, you'd walk out with a brown bag full of candy, and there was nothing better. And that's why I'm a huge fan of Big League Chew, and I'm a bigger fan of Ty Ballou. Ty Crosby gets a goal, but it was a rough night for Matt Murray, and right away, you know, that whole controversy begins now as far as who will start Game 5 back here in Pittsburgh on Thursday. But Grudor, along with Adverson, Forsberg, and John Cork, they all scored for them. And I must tell you, you knew that Pekka Rinne would finally get it together if given long enough. And when people were talking about replacing him after the first two, everybody was kind of laughing it off, including that exceptional defenseman P.K. Subban, saying, look, come on, this guy's 3 times, we've said it how many times, Vezina Trophy finalist. He comes up big last night. But it was just, you got to believe that they maybe might be the best defensive, offensive hockey team in the National Hockey League, and they are now back even with the Pittsburgh Penguins after last night's win, 2 games apiece. Game 5 Thursday night, PPG Paints Arena, 8 o'clock. Mike Doc Emmerich with the call on NBC.
You know, Rob, I agree. I mean, Pekka Rinne was unbelievable. I'm a fan first before a marketer. I was screaming at how many open goals or open shots they had. And somehow, some way, he kept that puck out. Early on, if one of those 2 of those pucks go in, it's a completely different game. The confidence that Rene gave to that whole offensive team was unbelievable. They knew that he was in there. There was no question that he was going to be goalie. I mean, he is probably going to be the Vezina Trophy winner. We've talked about that. He's unbelievable. He showed it last night. Everything was amped up. The crowd was amped up. I still feel very good about the Pens. You know, if this goes to a Game 7, we got 2 games here at home. I still think we have the best offensive talent. But I was talking about it today in the office. There's a reason that Nashville is in the Stanley Cup Finals, and we saw it for the last 2 games. Unbelievable team, unbelievable offense and defense both ways, and there was no way this was going to be a sweep. I was hoping, like you, that they were going to at least steal 1 game down there. They could come back 3-1 and be in a catbird seat, but I think we're going to be fine. I think Murray is the guy to take them the rest of the way. He looked, he looked human, but he didn't look horrible. I think he's still the best bet, even though I'm a huge fan of Marc-Andre. And I think they're going to be fine. Obviously, scoring the first goal, gave them confidence. When Sid scored late in the first period, I thought, okay, we're going to be fine. But they clamped down defensively, and they were just a better team the last 2 games.
You know, I've said many times, there are a whole lot smarter people out there in the world when it comes to sports than me, and I was just kind of fortunate to find my place doing sports amongst a number of other things in this business. And I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he mentioned Nick Bonino and how much he is missed as far as the Penguins. I have to agree, it's those unsung players that just find a way to get under the skin of the opposing team, and when they're gone, you don't realize it until you kind of sit back and really evaluate what happened. And let's face it, I think this team is much better with Nick Bonino in the lineup.
Oh, absolutely, Rob. A guy that we just haven't talked about because he's been on the shelf for the last 2 months is Chris Letang. Can you imagine how things would be different if we had Letang in there? Right. Everyone has injury, but Bonino, I would say, is at an elite level. I mean, he just performs that level. And Chris Letang, you would argue, is probably one of the top 5 defensemen in the league. So both those players are out. Remarkable they have played this well. But yes, we do miss Bonino, and we just have to go back. There's really nothing magical. I'm sure Sullivan's going to say the same thing. We need the young guys to fill in with the role players. I mean, it was great to see Sid score last night. Kessel's been a little quiet here the last few games. We need to see a little bit more productivity out of him. Obviously, Malkin always brings his A game if he doesn't score. Certainly kind of rough and tumble, but, I think we're going to be fine. We need to grab this last game. I think if somehow we lose 3 in a row, it's going to be very difficult to win Game 6 back down in Nashville. But I still feel good about it. Obviously, it was a tough loss last night.
Hey, let's go back to some branding now and have a little fun here as we get ready to say goodbye for another day from the Pratt Pack Gym. And again, Ty Ballou, PLB Sports, Blue Skies Charity. You were talking about Big League Chew and how it started in that company in Chicago, which was a division of Wrigley Gum. Let's just talk about Wrigley Gum for a moment and talk about withstanding the test of time. I don't even know how long they've been around, but I know it's been over 100 years. Think about that brand and what it's meant to the business world, but really to people everywhere who just like chewing gum from time to time.
Rob, back when we were growing up, and we're going to get nostalgic here, there was 2 things. There was a 5-stick pack, and there was spearmint, there was peppermint, there was juicy fruit, and then there was Big Red. And then their big product launch, there was and maybe you remember that there was a Plenty Pack where they came up with, I think, 15 sticks in there. And they owned it. They owned that market. There was Carefree, which was another gum that was out there, but really kind of owned the market. And the other brand that actually went with Big League Chew that was actually owned by Wrigley is a brand by the name of Bubble Tape. And they had Bubble Tape and they had actually Big League Chew together. But Wrigley, iconic, I don't know, Rob, probably 100, 125 years old, and, really the number 1, the biggest brand out there. There's other, players in the market now with Stride and Five and so on, but, Wrigley is a brand that we grew up on and still doing very, very well today. Hey,
the last thing, your children, my children, some of my most fondest memories, and I always had them with me connected to the hip for many, many years, and when we would roll through a Coons Market or be out doing some shopping, you get to the checkout line, and then there was that just wall of joy from the candy bars to the bubble gum and everything, and how they would always reach in there and say, hey, Dad, could I get one of these or that? But that bubble gum tape, I had enough tape that I could probably stretch from one side of the country to the other. My kids just absolutely loved it, and it used to bring me such joy being able to buy that for them. So you know what? Even though we are all a little older now, there's something about a good candy that really brings out the kid in all of us, right?
I completely agree. You do get nostalgic about that, and you have your favorite brands, whether they're non-chocolate, or, again, you and I first met when I was running Clark Candy up at RADC Park, which is a huge brand here and a huge brand nationally for many, many years. And it just brings us back to our childhood, and, there's no reason to change that today. Those are brands that are great, and we can eat those as an adult.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Ty Ballou, PLB Sports, Penguins and Nashville, Game 5, Thursday night at 8 on NBC from the PPG Paints Arena, all tied up at 2 games apiece. And, of course, much more throughout the week right here with your Pratt Pack. Have a good day, everybody. Good afternoon.